Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Pause the video right now to check out my social media, my radio show, and thatdrummerguy.com. And most of all, enjoy the following presentation.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, Josh, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, man.
Oh, awesome. Well, of course, we are here to talk about the brand new album from Dead Quiet, Grand Rites, which just came out this past week. And I've just gotten the chance to be able to check this album out since the album came out, and I really love what you guys are doing with this album. I mean, it just hits so many levels of what I love to listen to as an album listener, and I really think you guys just nailed it.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's good to hear.
Oh, not a problem. So, how did the writing process for this whole album begin?
I guess it began probably maybe 2 years ago now. I sort of had the first couple of songs kind of roughly arranged. And then, yeah, we just kind of started tinkering away at it between tours. We were sort of still touring the first record and playing a lot of those songs and sort of catching the other sort of newer members up with some of the older material. At the same time, kind of working on new stuff. And then it was probably like last summer that we really kind of kicked it into high gear and started really tweaking the songs and just finishing the record.
Yeah, it's so great to hear. It's just like, even though the band has been around for a few years now, lineup changes can always affect a lot of things, and the fact that you were able to get everything into gear so quickly and be able to start writing with the new album and get those new fresh ideas going, I mean, it's so great to see that.
Yeah, oh, for sure, man. Yeah, it was just like, it's kind of just like essential for us just to like, keep it fun, and it's always like, new stuff is always exciting. So, and it's always rad to have the newer guys sort of like be a part of that as well, rather than like, oh, here's the old songs that, we wrote with these other guys. It's like, well, hey, like, let's work on new material together. And then, that makes everybody feel more a part of the team.
Oh yeah, without question. And, it's also good for the creativity too. I mean, especially when you're the one that's writing the material, it's just like you want everyone to be on the same level and everything. And then once the new material starts to come into play and you get to hear everyone else's influences and see how it's all going to be cohesive together, I mean, again, I definitely think it worked out for the best, because I absolutely love this album from start to finish.
Right on, man. That's great. Yeah, I'm glad that came across for sure. That's definitely what we're aiming for.
So, when it came into the songwriting, did you have like any ideas from the first album of like where you wanted the next album to go in, or did you just wait until more of the songwriting time came about for this album?
Yeah, I just kind of like, it just sort of started, I always kind of have some riffs on the back burner, and then, I sort of started to come up with like rough, like half a song arrangements and sort of bring it to the guys, and then we sort of like, we'll hash it out together, and then I'll go home that night and have another idea, and then sort of like build on that the next time I go back. And it's just like it's a funny process of like, starting with like a very small kernel and then sort of just like hashing it out with the rest of the guys and then feeding off of them and then having, new ideas. So it's always kind of an exciting sort of unpredictable process.
So with that, where did the title come from with Grand Rites?
Basically just like, there's just this idea of like a grand rite, like this, sort of the arrogance that, humankind has over the planet, and how we just kind of do whatever the fuck we want, and, without thinking about the consequences. And it's just sort of this, tongue-in-cheek way of saying like, oh, this is our grand rite, that, we get to do this. It's just this human arrogance that, I find like, interesting as well as like devastating. So yeah, that's what Grand Rites is all about.
And I was curious about that. I mean, the more I was like listening to the lyrics throughout the album, I mean, I did kind of get that vibe to it, but just like getting that concrete feel with it now, knowing that, I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's very curious how human nature does feel that way. And of course there are some positives to it. There's a lot of devastating parts that come along with that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So with that said, I mean, with having that in mind, as far as like the song and the album, how did the rest of the lyrical content come into play? Like, how did you approach that?
It's always it kind of just stems from just like personal things going on in my life. I find writing lyrics is very difficult, and I'm only really able to do it if it's something that's meaningful. So I've never been able to just kind of sit down and like, oh, I'm going to write a song about like the housing crisis in Vancouver. Like I would never do that. It's just like more of like like personal things I'm going through, losing good friends or just like relationship stuff. Like it always just has to come from a real place.
Yeah, and it's like I've gotten that impression so much. I mean, especially with both albums. I mean, there is a lot of ways I'm able to connect with the songs and with the albums in my own experiences, and it's great to know that there is that real meaning behind the songs as well, because you are able to get that much more attachment to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just hope people can kind of relate in their own way to the stuff that like I don't expect people to be like, oh, like he's going through this. Like I want people to relate their own sort of situation to like sort of just like find those similarities in their own situation as they listen.
Yeah, and it's also great for you as well. I mean, when you are able to talk about these personal subjects and you are able to get them on the record, I've noticed that there's a good purge that usually comes with that, because you're getting all those feelings and emotions out there, and it feels better on the body.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, you got to exercise the demons somehow. So yeah, it's just like very therapeutic, 100%.
So with that, I mean, with the album coming out last week, what has been the reception to the album so far?
Yeah, you know what? Things are sort of trickling in. Reviews are kind of trickling in, and just locally, like just friends and fans have been like overwhelmingly stoked on the record. They're definitely like, so far so good. Like it's still early in the game to sort of get like a general consensus, but like so far it's been really, really positive from just the initial reactions.
Oh, that's great to hear that too. I mean, usually with the second album, I know sometimes that can really be a make or break album when it comes to a newer band, and the fact that there is a lot of positive reception, well deserved of course, but the fact that there is more positive reception that's coming in for it, I mean, I'm very happy to see that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. It's very exciting.
So with that in mind, what's coming up next for the band?
Well, right now, I mean, we're kind of like, it's the beginning of winter up here. So we're like probably just going to hunker down and just sort of, just enjoy as the album comes out, and hopefully it's continues to be well received. And then, look to the spring and summer for some touring opportunities, and just wait. Yeah, just hope, fingers crossed that some cool tours pop up, because we're all really excited to do that. We're all willing to get out on the road and enthusiastic about that.
Oh, very much so. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely the right approach. This late in the game, waiting till next year to seize more of those opportunities. I mean, living in Minnesota myself, I know how treacherous winters can be. So when you are able to, yeah. So when you are just able to sit at home and be able to relax, enjoy the end of the year, and then start working at the beginning of the year to find out what you want to do as far as like touring or possible writing or whatever the case is. I mean, you guys are going about that the right way.
Exactly, yeah, totally, that's the plan.
So, with myself not having the chance to be able to see you guys live yet, if I do get the chance to be able to experience you live, what should I expect from a live show from you guys?
You know what, it's high energy. Like we have a lot of fun on stage. There's a lot of camaraderie between us. Whether there's only a few people in the crowd or the place is packed, like we always have been able to find a way to have fun with each other. So I always just like I really think that translates really well, that the camaraderie in the band, and how we're always able to kind of have a good time and really get into the music and just like enjoy playing with each other first and foremost.
Yeah, and that's the amazing thing about this band that I've noticed. I mean, like it's such a collective of like such great musicians from the Vancouver area, and some of my favorite bands over the years are able to contribute to this band. I mean, it's great to see that Vancouver is like this untapped resource for so many great musicians out there.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, we're really lucky here. It's kind of ridiculous how many great players and fantastic bands there are in this one city. It's actually like overwhelming sometimes.
And with that, I mean, how is that local scene when it comes to like when local bands are playing shows? I mean, how is the collective when it comes to that?
Oh, it's great, man. Yeah, there's it's like everybody, we're very tight knit, so everybody's always, playing on each other's records and sort of like, doing shows together and there's always like it's like a big family here almost. There's never any sort of if anything, there's like a healthy competition between bands, but like it's really a warm scene as far as music goes.
Oh, that's so refreshing here too. I mean, I always hear about like different spots around the world where you can have that friendly competition, but it's also kind of passive aggressive at the same time, where it's like you secretly want the other bands to fail so your band can get higher up. But the fact that Vancouver isn't like that, and you all want to support each other like friends and family, I mean, that's so refreshing to hear.
Yeah. Oh no, totally. I mean, yeah, exactly. Like the band Ancients, like they're friends of ours, and they took us on tour, and Black Wizard took us on tour, and it was like, like hopefully one day we can take another band on tour with us, and so far, so on and so forth. Like, so we sort of have each other's backs. Yeah, it's really awesome.
And with that, I mean, when you are able to go out on tours like that, and either touring with the bands from Vancouver or whatever the case is, how is that? I mean, like going through North America with that kind of package.
Oh man, it's great. It's just you're already friends, so it's just so easy. You don't have to kind of go through those growing pains of like, oh man, like I've never met these guys before. Will we even get along? Because I mean, there's obviously like been cases in the past with bands that end up not really getting along on the road, and it just doesn't work. But at least going into it when you're touring with a friends band that you guys are all on the same page right away, so it's just easy.
Yeah, and that's definitely so important when it comes to that too, because it's hard enough whether no matter how you're traveling when it comes to a tour. I mean, it's hard enough being able to go from city to city, playing show to show, and when you are able to tour with people that you can get along with, be friends with, and just be cordial with, I mean, it just makes everything so much easier.
Totally, exactly.
So, with that said, I mean, with Vancouver having so many great bands and so many great musicians that are a part of it, how do you feel the Vancouver scene has grown ever since you started taking part in the scene?
Yeah, I mean, it's grown. It's definitely like you sort of end up meeting sort of the younger generation of players, and like as we're all in our 30s now, and have been doing this for a while, and then you sort of see these younger kids coming out and starting bands and like being really good right off the bat, and it's like, it's always like, oh, cool, like of course, like you sort of lose sight of like these, where you were, where I was, 10 years ago or whatever, and you sort of it's kind of exciting to see these younger kids like coming up in the game and being like really great players and writing some really great songs right off the bat. So yeah, it's cool. It's interesting to just to see that happen.
And with you, I mean, with different projects that you've been part of over the years, how are you feeling about like the current state of music in 2017?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's so much out there. It's overwhelming. There's no shortage of great music, but at the same time now you can really afford to be like very specific in your tastes, and you can sort of like from each genre, like I love death metal, but I don't love a lot of it, but like I'll find those choice few bands that I really like. The same with like a lot of the stoner and doom stuff. You can really be picky about it because there's really a lot out there, and I think it's kind of rad. You can it's like just walking into a grocery store and just picking like the ingredients that you want for something so specific. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, even though there is so much different music that is so easily available now, just like you said, you are able to refine what you enjoy listening to. I mean, sometimes it can be an unexpected discovery of something that you may not have ever thought you'd be able to enjoy, or it's something that you have in your mind that you wish a band would be able to do. You're able to discover them, and they become a new favorite band of yours. I mean, there's so many options out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally.
So, with that said, I mean, especially now with like all the opportunities for new music out there, what have been some of the latest discoveries for you, whether they're old or new, for new bands that you've been listening to?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like, yeah, so like, I'm trying to think of some new stuff that's come out. I mean, that new Converge record, I've always been a huge Converge fan, but I'm listening to that new Converge record, and they've always had this knack for writing an album that is so diverse, and it really tells a story, and I find that's a big influence on me is listening to a record that it doesn't just kind of start and go and end and is sort of like, you know, there's no moments to kind of take a breath. Whereas I find a band like Converge, they really tell a story, and there's songs that are like, you know, 3 minutes of like absolute punishing sort of like D-beat metal, and then there's like a weird sort of noise rock, sort of Jesus Lizard style song. All of a sudden, it's like, I find that really brave and really cool when bands do that. So yeah, that record is really inspiring right now. As well as like Chelsea Wolfe. I just got into her recently, and her latest record. That was something I wasn't into before, but I find like her sort of like very sad, doomy kind of meandering voice is something really cool, and the sort of like heavy Kurt Ballou production on that latest one is awesome.
Yeah, and you know, that's the great thing about Kurt. I mean, whether he's working with Converge or he's producing for another band, he always is able to like tap into this resource to really be able to show off the band the best that he's working with, the best that he can do, whether it comes into production or songwriting or whatever the case is. And those are two great examples right there with Converge and Chelsea Wolfe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's I'm always blown away by what he does for bands and his own band. So yeah, he's definitely like a hero of mine.
Yeah, and you know, it's just like when you say that, it's like I'm starting to hear that more in the band as well. I mean, there's just like there is so much creativity and songwriting and storytelling that's going on, especially with the new album. And you know, it's just like I'm able to hear all these different aspects on there, and I love the fact that you can have different songs on an album and make it sound so cohesive. And you know, it's just like a lot of people think it's just like it might be too abstract or something like that, but for someone like me, it's just I love someone to be able to wear their influences on their sleeve and really make an album that means something to them, no matter what the style is. And that's what I really appreciate about this.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. I'm glad you see that, because that's totally like that was the intent.
Yeah, I mean, it starts off like so amazingly with like Moon Cruiser, and you don't really know where the album's going to go from there if you're new to the band. And then when you get into like Blood Lovers and Corpse Revival, and then all the way to the end with like Spiritual Abuse and Grand Rites, I mean, it just takes you on such a really cool left of center twist of a sound, and I really appreciate that.
Oh, that's great, man. I'm glad you. Yeah, I'm really glad you acknowledged that. That's great.
Oh, not a problem. And in speaking of that, I really appreciate you taking the time to be able to talk to me about everything that's going on in the world of Dead Quiet right now, and of course the brand new album Grand Rites, which is available now. I highly recommend it. It's easily going to be one of my favorite albums of the year, and it's going to rank very high in my best of lists when I start working on those. And I really hope, whether it's from this interview or other reviews or YouTube or whatever the case is, I hope this continues on to keep getting more and more promotion, because this is such a great album and such a great band, and you guys absolutely deserve that.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. I've got faith in this one. I really hope that it sort of takes. So that's good to hear.
Oh, not a problem. Before we wrap things up here, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
I can't think of anything, man. That was a pretty thorough. I think you touched on all the good stuff there.